podcast. Súbele volumen. Conversation with the people who were with me. In the world TV. Carlos tonight. Historias de un reportero. Carlos tonight. Dale que viene lo bueno.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for watching and for listening. I really appreciate that. CarlosTonight.com. There you can find the latest on the podcast, see upcoming guests, and check out past episodes. That's CarlosTonight.com. My guest this week is helping a lot of people not only look better, but also feel better. And I'm happy and excited to introduce you to Aaron Sanchez, all the way from Las Vegas. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm great. Aaron, before we get things started, how is Las Vegas? How's the weather?
Oh, it's beautiful. Like I said, I just flew in. We were talking earlier. I flew in from Minnesota 5 days ago. It was 19 degrees and snowing. So this is suntan weather down here. I think it's in the 50s today.
Nice. Yeah, I'll be in Vegas this spring, and I grew up in Chicago, so I know all about the winters.
Yeah, I'm learning the hard way.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to talk to you about what you do, and so go ahead and share with us, what the company is, what you guys do, and how long you've been doing it.
Okay, sure. So my company is Alpha Micropigmentation, and what we do is scalp micropigmentation. So it's in the paramedical tattoo field. So what we're essentially doing is we're implanting specially designed pigments into the scalp, like right at the top dermal layer, to replicate the look of hair follicles. So, we can do anything from, male pattern baldness, female pattern baldness. We help a lot of people with alopecia. I work with an oncologist in town, helping his patients that have lost hair from chemotherapy or have scars on their head from a tumor removal, things like that. It's really evolved since when I started. To answer your question, I've been doing it about 9 years. When we first started, it was pretty rudimentary. We were using little tiny tattoo needles and tattoo machines. And now the industry has blown up and evolved to where we have all our own specialized pigment and machines and needles and all kinds of fun stuff.
Wow. So my first question is that pops into my head while you're talking is, does it hurt?
Yeah, you know what? That's actually one of our frequently asked questions. So, as opposed to a traditional tattoo, we're really shallow in the skin. So like I said earlier, we're right in that top dermal layer.
Yeah.
Traditional tattoos are about 3-4 layers down. I tell people it's annoying, I'm poking you over and over again. But there's no bleeding, there's no scabbing. A lot of people fall asleep while I'm working on them, or, we've got tattoos in the room. TVs in the room where we're just watching movies and hanging out. I fell asleep during mine.
Nice. Okay. And I know that you said a lot of people go after chemotherapy and stuff like that, but with folks who are experiencing maybe thinning or baldness runs in their family, at what age should they come see you, or what stage of their life should they come see you? When they're in their 20s, when they see their hair falling, or
it's really it runs the spectrum. I had a client that was 19 years old that was already 60% bald. He was a college student down here in Vegas at UNLV. I've done guys that are 75 years old. So that's kind of, I guess, your window looking at. It's really for anybody.
Yeah. And so how long does it take to do the procedure?
So it's done in sessions. 99.999% of the time I'm done in 3 sessions. Each session is about 2.5 to 3 hours. And the sessions are scheduled 7 days apart. So we need, a lot of people ask me, well, this is only 6 hours of work. I've sat for an 8-hour tattoo before. Why can't we just do this in one day? And the answer to that is because, again, we're so shallow in the dermal layer. If we get these impressions too close to one another while they're still wet, it's called migrating. They attract to each other and everything looks really muddy. So that's why we have to do it in sessions to let them heal, give them that kind of time.
And so what made you do it in the first place?
What made me get it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, I was a guinea pig actually.
Were you? Okay.
So yeah, my ex-partner and I, she was doing hair and makeup for a long, long time. And she brought this home and said, "Hey, I found this thing where you can tattoo hair on people's head." And I kind of laughed it off and thought it sounded pretty silly. And then I saw her working and practicing, with the equipment, and I said, "Wow, this is amazing. I can't believe how real this looks." So I've always been an artist and I love to draw and paint. So I picked it up right away and started messing with it, and made the decision this is something we need to jump on. So yeah, I was her guinea pig. I was the very first one she ever did. So yeah, that was 9 years ago.
Wow. And I was going to ask you, does it last forever, or is it kind of like a tattoo where it kind of fades away after a long time?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Yeah, so they're semi-permanent by design, and by semi-permanent, you're going to get anywhere from 10 to 15 years out of a procedure. A lot of it depends on lifestyle choices, where we live. So down here in Vegas, I tell my clients you're looking at probably 10 to 13 years just by virtue of where we live. We're always under the sun, we're sweating, we're at the lake and pools and stuff like that. Versus somebody up in Minnesota, where the climate's a lot more moderate, they might get a little bit longer out of it. Excuse me. And also, your lifestyle. Are you a guy that's outside digging ditches all day in the sun, doing construction? You're going to be sweating a lot. Those kind of things will factor into it as well versus, a guy that's sitting in a cubicle all day.
I met a guy a couple of years ago, and I remember saying to him, I'm like, where do you get your hair cut? And he was just like, oh, I don't have hair. And I was like, what do you mean you don't have hair? And so he
Yeah.
he bent over, and then I touched it, and it looked like exactly what you have,
Yeah.
which is so
Yep.
cool.
I'm pretty bald too, man. That's all tattoo. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh wow, cool.
Yep.
So do you you don't shampoo or anything, do you?
No, it's just, body wash I throw up there when I'm taking a
Yeah.
shower. That's one of the great things about this procedure is there's really not a lot of long-term maintenance. Common sense tattoo care. I tell people if you're going to be in the sun, put some sunscreen on or wear some head cover if you're going to be out there for a long time. But, there's no maintenance, there's no upkeep, as compared to the other options for hair loss, which are, your hair pieces, your hair units, hair transplants. I mean, it's constant work with those things. So it's really, really easy, really low maintenance.
I was watching a TikTok video on what we were talking about, and I liked it, and now that's all I see. And
Oh, you see
so,
it all the time?
yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was on Facebook, your message popped up, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna invite him on the show and see if we can talk about this. That's cool. So are your clients mostly like young people or older people?
I'd say, if I had to put an average on it, I'd say probably, mid 30s to mid to late 40s is probably about my average. But again, I mean, I get them 19 is really young. I've only had one of those, but I get them up into the 60s and 70s. And then, a lot of people that are dealing with cancer that are younger have, tumor removals or not even a tumor removal, but an injury scar or something on their head they want covered up, or alopecia affects a lot of people that are younger. Um, but yeah, I'd say by and large, probably 80% of my clients fall in that 35 to 45 year range.
And since you've done it, how does it feel after you've got it done and people see, the end result?
You know what? I've always been a pretty confident guy, and I'm really tall, so people don't usually see the top of my head. Um, and so, funny story, I never realized how bald I was or how thinning my hair was until, I ran bars and nightclubs for a long time here in Vegas. So I'm standing behind one of my bars one night. It's the graveyard shift. Nobody's in the bar. And I look up at our security camera and I see someone standing behind my bar. And my heart starts pounding. I'm thinking I'm getting robbed. So I turn around, nobody's there, and I look again, and it's me. And the reason I didn't think it was me is because there was this giant bald spot on this guy's head. And I'm like, no way, that's not me. So yeah, the next day I'm out. I bought a hat the next day, and I mean, I went for consultations for hair transplants. I was using the topic fibers, that you dump on your head, and the scalp dyes. I did all of it. So yeah, going back to what I said, I was always a really confident guy and stuff never, but that just hit me. I don't know why it did. It just hit me. I was always worried about who's standing behind me in line, or if we go to the movies, who's sitting behind me, they're going to see my bald spot. And yeah, once I got this done, it was, I mean, I don't even think about that anymore. It's not even a thought that never pops into my head. I just go out. I don't have to worry about what I'm doing with my hair, or wearing a hat or anything. It's very liberating
I
for
bet.
sure.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So, if somebody's like balding, do you
Uh,
when you do the procedure, is it just that one spot, or do you do it throughout the whole hair, the head?
Yeah, so I mean, we're doing, so like for me, I was thinning down to about like right here. So we're gonna fade down about a half inch. Whoops, I'm backwards on the camera here. Down into the hairline, and we're doing that whole area. So that gives you, kind of license for the procedure to age with you. So yeah, we just don't do the bald spot because you're gonna thin some more. And then you don't want to see like that line of demarcation where I just stopped the work. So we blend it into your native hair so it can age with you.
I was
But yeah,
talking to
oh, go ahead.
I was talking to my sister about this, and the the one thing that that I was thinking about is, that you would do like just that one spot, and
Mhm.
then like kind of where you're talking about when you get older, and then the rest of your hair falls off. Do you still have that little patch of hair, and everything else is
Yeah.
gone?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back into the lifespan and why we make these things semi-permanent. Because we don't want you to be, you come in and see me when you're 40. I don't want you to have something on your head when you're in your 60s that doesn't look natural anymore and doesn't match you. So yeah, we do blend into your native hair, so it will age with you. If you lose a little bit more hair, there's still work in there in your hair that blends in, so it's always going to look good. Eventually it'll just get lighter and lighter and go away, and that way you can adjust it as you age, and we can kind of customize it to you again.
Are there any side effects or any bad parts about doing all this?
No, the pigments that we use are all natural. They're all organic. Most of it's stuff that's already in your body anyway. One of the two pigments I use is a carbon base. We're all carbon-based life forms. We all got carbon in our body. Sterilized water, vegetable glycerin, and our healing agent is aqua hamamelis or witch hazel, which is organic also. So hypoallergenic, it's nothing anyone's going to be allergic to. There's no side effects. The downtime is very, very minimal, super easy, again, as compared to a traditional tattoo.
Mhm. So if you say you're trying to cover up a spot, do you have to shave the rest of your hair or no?
No, no, that's actually a question we get a lot too. It's a case by case basis. So some people, like me, that was my when I was the guinea pig. I said I don't want to shave my head down, and then the guy that was training my ex partner, he said, yeah, you don't have a choice, man. You're too thin. So yeah, it gets to a point where you get so thin, there's just nothing we can do. It just looks like we're changing the color of your scalp, and you've got some strands up there. So, but yeah, I just actually finished a gentleman who was just a little bit thin, and we can add density to your hair and make it look like you got a full head of hair again. It just kind of depends on where you are on that thinning scale.
And I bet
But
for
no, you don't necessarily have to shave.
oh, okay. I bet for a lot of your clients, they look a lot younger than when they came in. Is that
Yeah, they do. It knocks 10 years off of you right off the bat. And when I had mine done, I looked in the mirror after my last session. I was like, why did I wait so long to do this? And I was looking at my before pictures, like, what was I hanging on to? This is ridiculous. But yeah, it knocks 10 years off you right off the bat. That's probably one of my favorite things about doing this is showing my clients their before and after, because while we're doing this, it's a transition. So they see the slow progress. But when you show them that before and after picture, it's really that wow moment. We're like, I can't believe how young I look again. Yeah.
yeah? And once you do that first procedure, there's no turning
Mhm.
back, right?
Um, well, there is, so I take a really conservative approach. This is a kind of a back and forth in our industry. There's some clients that like to go all in on the first session. So their client has something to look at when they're done, and they can go home and look in the mirror and be like, wow, this thing is really working.
Right.
I'm in the other school of thought where I take a really conservative approach. So I start really light and really sparse with my procedures. I can put the same pigment in 10 different people. It's going to heal 10 different shades, not drastically, but enough that me as the artist is going to notice it. So if I look at a guy and say, hypothetically, this guy's going to be a medium color, he comes back and it healed dark. There's nothing I can really do about it. I can always go darker. I can't go lighter. I mean, we can get it out, but it's painful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if for some reason it got, I've never had this happen before, knock on wood. if some reason we did a first session and you hated it, I mean, laser removal is always an option. It comes out really easy with laser removal.
Mm. It's probably
Yeah.
painful, right?
It is, yeah. On a 1 to 10, it's an 11. It's a lot more painful getting it out than it is putting it in, for sure.
So tell me, where can people find you and get like a consultation?
Sure. So my website is alphamicropigmentation.com. I'm also on Facebook under Alpha Micropigmentation, Instagram under Alpha Micropigmentation. You can contact me through any of those avenues. I prefer to do consults in person, but I can always do them virtually, via Zoom or something like that.
And where are you located to do the
So
procedure?
I've got an office here in Las Vegas, and we just opened a second office up in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. We're actually right on the river in Hudson. And then I'm eyeballing a third one down in Dallas.
Oh, okay.
And
That's
then
where
hopefully
I
I can
am.
find. Yeah. Oh, are you? You're in
Yeah,
Dallas?
we're in Dallas.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
that's cool.
I was just down in Killeen training a student.
Oh yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
a little south of you, I think.
Awesome. And do people like reach out to you on like social, and then do they ever like fly to you and do the work?
Yeah. So, well, especially during COVID, I was very, very fortunate. I was one of the few people in the country that were still working because I work with an oncologist, a cancer doctor in Vegas. So they shut us down as not essential. He called me and said, "Hey, I'm sending a patient to you. We did a tumor removal about a year ago. She needs a scar filled in." And I said, "Doc, I'm closed. I'm shut down." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that." So he says, "Let me call you back later, and maybe we can set something up for down the road." So my phone rings that night at dinner, and it's him. And he says, "Hey, I talked to the gal at the health department, and I told her you're essential to my practice. You're essential to the recovery of my patients. So you're good. You can work under me." So I was really fortunate. I got to work during COVID. And yeah, during that time, I had a guy flying from Texas, from Idaho, from Utah. They were coming in from all over. But yeah, even outside of COVID, yeah, people will fly in to see me.
By the way, is that Madonna your shirt?
Dolly Parton.
Oh, Dolly Parton. Okay, I only saw it.
My mom was a big Dolly Parton fan, and so it's kind of a relic of my childhood. Yeah.
Oh, cool, awesome. So I think the big question is on everyone's mind is how much does this all cost?
So average is 2,500 to 3,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. That's for the full procedure. I guarantee my work for 5 years. So if anything happens during that time where, it's fading or looking soft or, anything you're unhappy with, my clients can just call me and I'll take care of it for them. And that's also for the procedure. So it's not by session. Some people say, well, what if I need extra sessions, which is very rare, but hypothetically speaking, I mean, this would never happen, but someone needed 10 sessions to get this thing done. They never pay more, and that's all they pay. So one question that comes up in terms of our price is, why is this so much more expensive than, a traditional tattoo of comparable size? Our inks are a lot more expensive. The needles that we use are more expensive. Our education is really expensive to learn how to do this. And again, you got to kind of frame it in terms of what else is available out there. Okay, you can go get a hair transplant and you're in for about 19 grand. You can go get a hair system or a hair unit and you're looking at about anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 a year in maintenance for a decent one. So, it's instant results. It looks a lot better than a hair transplant, in my opinion. And there's no upkeep, no scarring, no nothing like that.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And do they? Is there like payment plans, or do you just pay all up front?
Yeah, I mean, most people pay up front. I typically charge them after the first session, but I do work with a couple different finance companies. So if you're looking for like a long-term payment option, I've got multiple options available. If a client wanted to break it up and pay per session, a lot of people are, a little bit nervous about getting this done and what the results are going to be. So I understand that. So if they want to pay by session, I'll usually let them do that too.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, it looks great, and it makes you
Thank
feel,
you.
better about yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely feel younger, look younger.
That's awesome, and we all want that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Good luck with everything, and thanks for being here. God bless you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
And that's all the time we have. Thanks for watching. And remember, check out carlostonight.com for the very latest on the podcast, the upcoming guests, and check out past episodes. That's carlostonight.com.
Historias de un reportero.